Tom O'Neill, The Envelope, Michael Musto of The Village Voice, and we are Outrage. Michael, it's Oscar season again. We get all excited this time of year, and then when the envelope gets opened for Best Picture on Oscar night, next month it's going to be Beverly Hills Chihuahua. They always
No, it's going to be Hotel for Dogs. No, look, it's always something appalling, though we usually predicted it, because by now we're so used to this whole game that we know to foresee the kind of crazy thinking that goes into choosing the winners.
So we're going to play a little game right now, a game of Can You Top This Outrage? We're going to play a game of Oscar outrages, and I'm going to let Michael go first because whatever outrage you name, I can name an Oscar outrage worse than that. So you...
Okay, in 1950, Judy Holliday, who was perfectly adorable in Born Yesterday, bizarrely won Best Actress over Bette Davis in All About Eve, and who I think should have won, Gloria Swanson for Sunset Boulevard, the classic, not only campy gargoyle performance, but really a brilliantly textured performance. She was amazing. Thank God Mae West turned it down. But however, I really think Bette Davis and Gloria Swanson were too similar in type as far as gargoyle-ish, campy, divas, and they canceled each other out. In addition to the fact that Anne Baxter was also up for Best Actor for All About Eve, so she drew a little attention away from Betty. Judy Holliday comes out the winner. This is like, what, Red Buttons, Miyoshi Umeki. This is crazy.
Best performance by a gum-snapping diva in Judy Holliday's case. But to the point of then Bette Davis, you look back over her career, her greatest performances were probably All About Eve and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Two of her Oscar nominations, what does she win for? She wins for Jezebel and Dangerous. Come on, that's just terrible.
And when she lost for Baby Jane, you know who got up to the stage to accept for Anne Bancroft.
Let's tell that story, please. Joan
Crawford. Betty's arch nemesis.
Right. Accepting on behalf of Anne Bancroft, who was in New York, performing on Broadway.
You learn a lot here at the Tom O'Neill Show.
Oh, and the Michael Show, too, here. All right, if we're going to be talking Best Actress outrages here, the mother of all oh my gods is Judy Garland losing for A Star is Born to Grace Kelly in The Country Girl.
Well, and Judy wouldn't have shown up, let's face it. But this time she had a good excuse. Judy was giving birth in the hospital. And the sad thing is the camera crew was around her to see her make her acceptance speech. She lost, and the cameras just kind of dismounted and said, bye, bitch.
They assumed, like everybody else, that Judy was going to win that night. But Grace Kelly had been in a lot of other movies that year. She had been in Rear Window. She had been in Dial M for Murder. But I think that the real reason she didn't win was the deep, dark secret of the Oscars, and that is we know they're not voting on the best performances of the year. They're voting on who we like, who we don't. And when you look back at all the people who've not won Oscars, Richard Burton, Peter O'Toole, Judy Garland, they all had a little glug, glug, glug.
Marilyn Monroe not even nominated. Glug, glug, glug. If you don't show up on the set half the time, they're not going to reward you. Mm-hmm. They want someone who's going to keep the movie under budget, not triple the budget, and then expect some kind of honor for it. Judy Garland has the award of longevity. Grace Kelly's performance I thought was fine. It's not going to live forever the way Judy Garland's will. Mm-hmm. Take that, Grace Kelly, you little tarnished tiara princess, wannabe actress.
All right, what's your next outrage?
In 1977, I feel, and I might be alone in this, that John Travolta should have won for Saturday Night Fever. May I remind you, he just had a family tragedy. Be kind.
Right. You don't get an Oscar for that.
You know who won? The big coke addict at the time, Richard Dreyfuss. Dreyfuss? What? Yeah, I don't even know how to say his name. He won for The Goodbye Girl.
Right.
He played an annoying, nebbish. He was an annoying nebbish. There was no acting involved. Everybody was stunned when they said his name. It was like, huh? Well, we didn't even know he was nominated.
Nobody was more stunned that night, by the way, than the other Richard who was nominated in that category, Richard Burton. And when they opened the envelope and they said, and the winner is Richard, Burton was half out of his seat, hoping to win for Equus, which turned out to be his last Oscar nomination. And then the poor guy went to his grave as the biggest loser.
I don't think that particular movie losing was a tragedy. That movie's a piece of garbage. That is, as proven by the Broadway revival, that property has proven to be just a piece of psychobabble, mumbo-jumbo, pretentious twaddle. And Richard Burton was not even good in that. He should have won maybe for Virginia Woolf, though Paul
definitely.
Schofield was great that year, Man for All Seasons, and that's who won.
But John Travolta should have won instead over everybody else?
He gave a magnetic star performance. He's still a star now because of that role.
He shouldn't be anywhere near an Oscar if you ask me.
Ooh. Except for Oscar de la Hoya. I don't know what that means.
Let's go back to the Best Actress Outrages, please. Speaking of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Elizabeth Taylor, she deserved her Oscar for that. But the first one she got was for Best Tracheotomy, and Butterfield ate a movie so bad that she threw her shoes at the screen after she saw it for the first time in the screening room and said, "This movie is S, you fill in the other letters."
Is she the one who threw the shoes at Bush, too? But you know what? It was a great tracheotomy. You didn't even see any scars. And in fact, some people at the time, and still today, are wondering if she even was all that sick or even underwent any kind of surgery, or if it was some kind of bid for attention because the movie was so bad. But she was a glamorous prostitute. Gloria Wanderous, no sale, and lipstick on the mirror. I've seen it. She was better than Eddie Fisher, but an Oscar?
Well, what was going on behind the scenes here, of course, is that she had just been caught dallying with Richard Burton on the set of Cleopatra. She had just stolen Eddie Fisher a few years before that, away from America's sweetheart Debbie Reynolds.
That was petty larceny. Come on. Nobody was mad about that. Even Debbie was like, "Please take him. He's yours."
But she was this really bad girl, and suddenly she had come down with pneumonia, wink, wink, or something she claimed was wrong. She had the tracheotomy. She shows up at the Oscars.
A chicken wing was stuck somewhere. But look, she's one of those weird two-time Oscar winners that only deserves one, and there are a lot of those.
That's right.
I can't think of any, but there are a lot of them.
All right, let's go over the top of the bang here, Michael. Best Picture Outrage. Do you have one for me?
1980, Ordinary People won. It's okay. It didn't really hold up. You watch it again, it's kind of like fondue. It's kind of moldy in the attic, and it's not quite what it was. But Raging Bull, which I know you're not a fan of, you're going to punch me out like Jake LaMotta.
I think the second word of that title says it all. But
Raging Bull, I think, is regarded now as possibly the greatest American film of the 80s, one of the greatest films of all time. I'm not into those macho films myself, though I did like The Wrestler, but and Glitter, but but this was just a tour de force as opposed to Ordinary People, which was a nice, well-made dark drama, showed an interesting side to Mary Tyler Moore. We didn't know she could be a total C-word. But Best Picture, give it. They should reverse this. Scorsese had to wait so long to reverse that.
Right, and then he ends up winning for The Departed. But you know, speaking of Best Picture outrages, the greatest movie of all time, according to the American Film Institute,
Showgirls.
other than Showgirls, was Citizen Kane, and it lost Best Picture of its year to the last movie released on VHS tape because nobody wanted it. How Green Was My Valley.
Which I've actually seen, and that is a bore. That is a fuck. You know, I don't care how green your valley is. Just keep it to yourself. There's so much narration in that movie. It's 16 hours until they actually have two characters interacting. It's all like, and then I went into the mines. I mean, Citizen Kane lost because, let's face it, it was controversial. It was about Hearst, wasn't it?
Right.
Patty Hearst.
Her grandpa.
And the gossip columnists when it beat their tom-toms the second they started making this movie. This is an outrage. You can't smear Hearst. It was brilliant. It will live forever. And it's Orson Welles' badge of pride that he never won for that. And he went on to do like a Paul Masson Vinery commercial. That was his award.
Thanks, Michael.